आज संडे 16 अप्रैल 2023 को इस डॉक्टर KK HCFI हार्ट केयर फाउंडेशन ऑफ इंडिया के इस राउंड टेबल एक्सपर्ट ग्रुप एनवायरनमेंट में आप सभी एक्सपर्ट ग्रुप मेंबर्स का और जो व्यूअर्स हैं डॉक्टर KK अग्रवाल की यूट्यूब फेसबुक पेज से जुड़े उनका सबका स्वागत है। और आज का हमारा टॉपिक वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट से रिलेटेड है। उसका टॉपिक है EPR इन प्लास्टिक वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट, ई गवर्नेंस इश्यूज। आप जानते होंगे कि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने 2016 में डिफरेंट वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रूल्स नोटिफाई किए रिलेटेड टू प्लास्टिक वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट, सॉलिड वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट, हजारस वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट, ई वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट, कंस्ट्रक्शन डिमोलिश वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट। तो डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ जो वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रूल्स जो है 2016 में आप जो प्रीवियस जितने रूल्स थे उनको सुपरसीड करते हुए इशू हुए। और उसमें प्लास्टिक वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट में जो 2016 में आए प्लास्टिक वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रूल्स 2016, उसके बाद वेरियस अमेंडमेंट इसमें किए गए। प्रैक्टिकल इसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन के लिए देयर वर सो मेनी इश्यूज। तो 2016 रूल आने के बाद भी इतना जो इन्फोर्समेंट या बॉडी इश्यूज थे वो शायद उसमें कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स रही होंगी। तो 2022 में अगेन अमेंडमेंट जो प्लास्टिक वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रूल्स में आया, तो उसमें जो ये कॉन्सेप्ट है और जो EPR है, EPR बेसिकली एक्सटेंडेड प्रोड्यूसर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है। तो ये वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रूल्स में बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया। प्लास्टिक वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रूल्स में किया, ई वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रूल्स में किया, जो अभी हमने 1 अप्रैल 2023 से नए रूल जो इम्प्लीमेंट हुए हैं, ई वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रूल्स 2022। और हमने इस पे जो है 2 लास्ट में मीटिंग भी की थी, तो उसमें भी हुआ। उसके बाद ये बैटरी वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट में रूल्स में भी EPR आ गया और टायर वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट में भी EPR आ गया। तो ये EPR बिकॉज कई बार क्या है कि इम्प्लीमेंटेशन और इन्फोर्समेंट बहुत ही एक तरह से ऐसा सब्जेक्ट है कि ठीक से इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हो पाता है बिकॉज ऑफ सो मेनी रीजंस। जो गवर्नमेंट का जो है जो मैन पावर है या और बहुत से इशूज है। सो ये कॉन्सेप्ट EPR का ये वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रूल्स में लाया गया। और बेसिकली EPR का अगर आप मीनिंग देखें, EPR एक्सटेंडेड प्रोड्यूसर रिस्पांसिबिलिटी मींस द रिस्पांसिबिलिटी ऑफ ए प्रोड्यूसर, जो इसको प्रोड्यूस कर रहा है, फॉर द एनवायरमेंटली साउंड मैनेजमेंट ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट अंटिल द एंड ऑफ द लाइफ। जो इस प्रोडक्ट की जब तक ये फाइनल जो वेस्ट में जब तक इसका एंड ऑफ लाइफ नहीं हो जाता है, दिस इज रिस्पांसिबिलिटी ऑफ प्रोड्यूसर कि उसकी डिफरेंट चेन में उसको ट्रैक करना और उस तरह से उसको कहाँ में उसको मैनेजमेंट करना है। तो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एनवायरमेंट, फॉरेस्ट, क्लाइमेट चेंज, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया by this 4th amendment जो 2015 से 16 फरवरी 2022 को आया, नोटिफाइड दी जो EPR गाइडलाइंस इसमें इंट्रोड्यूस की गई प्लास्टिक वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रूल्स में। और CPCB हैज डेवलप्ड ए पोर्टल फॉर दैट। एक्चुअली जो डेडिकेटेड पोर्टल है उसका नाम है epr-plastic.cpcb.gov.in। एक इसके लिए आप किसी भी गूगल में या किसी में भी जाएंगे और सिंपली आप epr-plastic.cpcb.gov.in में जाएंगे तो उसके सारे डिटेल्स आप जो EPR गाइडलाइंस के आपको मिल जाएंगे। और एज पर दिस पोर्टल जो प्रोड्यूसर्स हैं, इंपोर्टर्स हैं और ब्रांड ओनर्स हैं, अब ये जो PIBOs बोलते हैं उनको एंगेज, और पर्टिकुलरली आल्सो द प्लास्टिक वेस्ट प्रोसेसर्स हैं, PWPs बोलते हैं उनको, और जो हुज एंगेज इन रिसाइकलिंग, वेस्ट टू एनर्जी, वेस्ट टू ऑयल एंड इंडस्ट्रियल कंपोस्टिंग, they have to all register in this portal. It's mandatory for all producer, importers and brand owners as well as plastic waste processor to register under these rules. इसके साथ ही गवर्नमेंट CPCB ने they have developed a standard operating procedure और अपलोड किया है, उसको CPCB वेबसाइट पे भी किया है। इसके बाद PIB और गाइडलाइंस भी इसको इन्होंने अपलोड की हुई हैं कि कैसे इसको जो पोर्टल को ऑपरेट करना है। जो PIBOs हैं, प्रोड्यूसर, इंपोर्टर और ब्रांड ओनर्स विच आर ऑपरेशनल 1 और 2 स्टेट, तो उनके लिए जो कंसर्न है SPCB जो स्टेट प्रोड्यूसर कंट्रोल बोर्ड है, प्रोड्यूसर कंट्रोल कमेटी, वहां पर रजिस्टर करना है। और जो PIBO जो प्रोड्यूसर, इंपोर्टर, ब्रांड ओनर्स हैं विच आर ऑपरेशनल इन मोर देन 2 स्टेट, दे हैव टू रजिस्टर इन CPCB जो है पोर्टल, जो CPCB के ही मतलब पोर्टल पे CPCB को अंडर रजिस्टर करना है। तो इस तरह से बहुत सा सिंप्लीफाइड किया हुआ है, बट स्टिल सो मेनी इश्यूज विद द ई गवर्नेंस। बहुत से लोगों को अभी 2 मैंडेटरी है बट अभी इतना फुल्ली ऑपरेशनल नहीं है. दे हैव इंडस्ट्रियल एसोसिएशन है शॉर्ट सम टाइम, तो इसके लिए कि हमें कुछ और टाइम दिया जाए इसको, और बहुत सी एक्सपर्टीज अवेलेबल नहीं है EPR के. दो इट इज़ वेरी गुड कॉन्सेप्ट. इससे हमारा जो प्लास्टिक आप जो प्रॉब्लम देख रहे हैं, जो बहुत से सिंगल यूज प्लास्टिक हो और जो परचेज करते हैं, दे हैव टू, जितना भी उनके सेल्स डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं और परचेज डॉक्यूमेंट हैं और जितना भी वेस्ट का कितना जा रहा है, किसको दे रहे हैं, ये सारा ट्रैक होगा उस पे. इस EPR पोर्टल के थ्रू उनको दे हैव टू सबमिट सारे वाउचर्स, उनको सबमिट करने, पूरा एक प्रोसेस करना है. बट स्टिल देयर आर सो मेनी गवर्नेंस इशू. इसके लिए हमने, हमारे कलीग रहे हैं मिस्टर कमल शर्मा, जो कि CEO हैं वी केयर, एक वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट का एक ग्रुप है, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, उसमें ये CEO हैं और इस पे बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस है. दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट में हम लोगों के साथ आई थिंक अर्ली 2000 में, मतलब जो है करीब 2 डिकेड्स बिफोर ही वाज विद अस, जो हम लोगों के साथ ही ये काम किया है. और अच्छा, बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस है. बहुत ही ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में इन्होंने काम किया है, इंक्लूडिंग इसमें CII में भी रहे हैं और भी बहुत से ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में काम किया है. और अभी करंटली जो है वी केयर जो है प्लास्टिक वेस्ट और अदर EPR इश्यूज पे वो काम कर रही है. तो मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कमल शर्मा से कि आज के इस सब्जेक्ट पे अपना एक प्रेजेंटेशन उन्होंने हमारी रिक्वेस्ट बनाया हुआ है, तो मैं मीनाक्षी से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा प्रेजेंटेशन शेयर करें. एंड ओवर टू कमल शर्मा. कमल, आपका म्यूट है अभी जरा.
Thank you, sir, for introducing and giving me the opportunity to interact with your group, and it's always a pleasure to be with you. So I would just go on to the topic which we have today. EPR, as Dr. Anil Kumar mentioned, is that it's a wonderful concept which ensures that the organizations which are using plastics to package their product, they are made responsible for ensuring its collection, channelizing for recycling and waste to energy or co-processing, which are the different avenues for different categories of waste. So every plastic cannot be recycled in a true sense. There are different types of plastics which are being used, and therefore there are different end of pipe collection or waste to energy solutions. So next slide, please. So this is, as I mentioned, this is a responsibility towards the producer and away from municipality. Away from municipality, it doesn't mean that they don't need to do the collection and all that. There is nothing like we want to create a parallel stream of efforts. Rather, how there could be a public-private partnership, and that's where India would differ from what other countries or Europe have been doing. So there needs to be a public-private partnership. We are a resource-constrained country. So therefore, public-private partnership is the key. Then the incentive is for POs. Here the word producer is made, but this is extended producer responsibility. So that's why producer word is taken. But in our law, in PWM rules, there are different terms: producers, importers, and brand owners. You can consider all these three as a subset of the larger definition of producer. And when we say producer, that means all producer, importers, and brand owners. So they need to look at how they can reduce their material consumption, because the more the plastic or packaging used in their products, the more is their responsibility on undertaking EPR. So it's basically EPR is a penalizing policy tool that forces the organization to reduce their plastic consumption so that their EPR liability reduces. Second is they use more secondary material, and they promote eco-design. Eco-design means, or design for environment, where the packaging is reusable, where there are certain ways that packaging destroys itself. For example, biodegradable packaging or compostable packaging. So this is where different avenues are thought about by POs, producer, importer, and brand owner, so that they can reduce their liability. Because PWM rules doesn't apply on biodegradable and compostable material. So that's why it's an incentive for organization to move towards those kind of packages. Next slide, please. So there are different types of EPR. This slides just talk about what are different tools used worldwide under EPR strategy. And there are some administrative tools, there are economic tools, informative tools, and then agreements. Tools means that on what basis or what is the structure that has been given to ensure the collection or or some economic instruments is implemented by the government, like advanced disposable system, deposit refund system. So these are tools which are what we can say academically looks to be good, but as far as our experience of the last 5-7 years goes, India is a very different country. We have a very different value proposition when it comes to waste. Even different geographical areas have different affinity towards segregation of waste at source. Uh, People living in hilly areas, they would have different. You would not find uh, 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 you know area, even in a hilly area where the tourist footstep is high, you would find a lot of use and throw. But where there are some remote villages, there also plastic is used, but they are completely channeled back because they know the value of the waste. They sell it for different value propositions. So there are different types which are going on. So next slide, please. Looking at um, overall plastic consumption, this is sourced from CPCB. We can see that 2018, 19, 19, 20, there is a very steep jump in 2020, 21. And that is primarily because of the after effects of pandemic. What we as industry believe that people have moved wherever the people got the choice, they move towards packaged food, they move towards packaged solutions rather than open the thing. Although there are different strata in the economy, we understand that, but there is a very steep jump in plastic consumption as far as 2022 is concerned, and we expect it to be increasing over the year. So it is going to increase. So there must be some uh, proper mechanism, proper uh, 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 structure that needs to be given to compliance monitoring, and also and how, because it is linked with EPR and EPR is a part of compliance. So we have to look at how we as a country, whether we would be able to monitor this kind of a compliance, this much of tonnage, where it is going, where it is, how it is exchanging hands from supply chain, right from the film manufacturers to the brand owners, and then to the consumer, and then the plastic waste processing facilities collecting it. So there was a very intent by the government that we need to have a very clear, transparent mechanism how we can trace each ton of plastics, and that's why there was a need for bringing in e-governance into the EPR implementation, and that was very rightly put out by MOEFCC and Central Pollution Control Board, and they have launched their portal last year. There is a one set of registration that also being done through that portal, and it was very user friendly from a user perspective. But since this is the first time that all the stakeholders are getting used to this portal, there are obvious some challenges to how to understand that portal. If there is some error, human error, then how that can be addressed. So there are a lot of things which are related to IT system, and that's why this system is also facing those initial hiccups, what we could say. But over the years, we believe that this is going to be a beautiful system where the regulator will not spend time in going through files and picking out data, because that analytics would be done by the system. A regulator would have a screenshot, and a system would point out automatically that here these are the gaps in these kind of filings, and regulator can actively or swiftly act on it. So this is a very beautiful work that has been done as a part of bringing e-governance into the EPR in the country. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, there is a lot of plastic waste which is being generated. And in India, 43% of it is plastic packaging waste. Now, the question comes that where do we need to focus upon? Because if we talk about from in the morning, we use toothbrush, which is of plastics, and sleepers are also of plastics, then how much plastics we need to, which are the basically more nuisance value or more littering potential in terms of plastics in the environment. It was uh, through research, it is fact that this is a packaging waste basically, which comes out more often littering on the ground, on the streets, choking the riverine system, nalas, and all that. That's why the focus of government currently is on plastic packaging waste. So there could be somebody who is manufacturing plastic chairs, but now at the moment it is not in the focus. The focus is on plastic packaging waste. Then the successful implementation of EPR would address a big share of plastic waste problem in the country. Currently in India, plastic waste, the one with more value like PET, HDB, is already collected by formal collection stakeholders. So there are some reports which says that in India, we already have 85% of PET bottle collection in the country. We may find plastic bottles littered uh, at one moment, but within 2 hours, you wouldn't find that plastic bottle. So there is a very efficient informal system which is working. Although there are issues related to human rights and working conditions around those informal sector, but but there are people who are running their livelihoods on these kind of activities. And the one we know or no or low value, which we call single-use plastic or even in single-use plastic, the multi-layered one, where packet, chips packet and all. So those are the plastic packaging which needs to be addressed through other kind of interventions because they cannot be easily recycled. There are some technology some members are some of the organizations are testing uh, unaware of co-processing. Basically, when we say co-processing, in cement kiln we use coal as a fuel, and uh, and with the kind of temperature that cement kiln has, there is an opportunity for us to replace coal with some other uh, material with some calorific value. So in some proportion, the coal is reduced, use of coal is reduced, and the other type of waste is used to be co-processed. And after that, clinker is made, and out of that cement kiln, only cement comes out. And with that kind of a temperature, there are no dioxin fluents as well. So it is a very clean, uh, considered to be clean way of disposing this kind of a waste. But as things are moving, we are expecting this MLP also to be recycled in the coming years. There are different players who are uh, installing or using that kind of a facility. In fact, there is also initiative related to cradle recycling of plastics. So plastic would not just go into making of granules and then for secondary material to be used. Rather, it would be channeled back as a molecule back into the refinery, and then different molecules would be turned out. So this is how the systems are being worked out in India, but they are not at scale. We have to wait for a couple of. Next slide, please. So there are different, as I mentioned, there are different targets for peoples and EPR target, how much minimum level of recycling they needs to do, end of life disposal, and obligation for use of recycled content. So in addition to what was done earlier in the name of EPR that you have to collect back, recycle, and your responsibilities. Now, to ensure that circular economy is there, what government is now mandating is that they have obligated the use of recycled content for PBOs to use in their packaging, which means that even the packaging which is being used by PBOs, it would have some recycled content. So you can now imagine that the waste is destined to be back into the packaging. But the catch here is that not every sector can comply with this. For example, food sector. There are FSSAI guidelines which stops from using that recycled content with the food that is in contact with that packaging. Till now, there are no standards for that. BIS is working on. So there are some developments which are parallelly going on, and this is specifically will not be met by all sectors, but it will be very sector specific. In addition, brand owners must adhere to the minimum level of reuse. Now, this is another challenge for industry currently. Is that the way the supply chains are there? I mean, we cannot expect a chips packet to be torn, we eat the chips, and then it would be used back for refilling it. So it will not be possible. Similarly, there is a very immature concept which is touted by various people. Is that key when industry can send the product, why can't they back? They call back their packaging, because packaging is a waste. Packaging, because the dealer will not keep it. The the system which is there, it is for clean products. It is not for waste. So that's why it is not possible that way. So so industry is currently working out what we can do or what we can use. That maybe the use of recycled content, the amount of recycled content which is used in their packaging can qualify for reuse, because ultimately it is the recycled content again coming back in the packaging in a processed manner, neat and clean manner. That needs to be considered to be used under the definition of reuse. But let's see, it's a debatable matter. We are in touch with government on this. Next slide, please. Targets for minimum level of recycling. So there are different targets which are being given for category 1, 2, 3, and 4. There are different categories of plastic which are defined under the rules. And category 1 is mostly the rigid one, jars, plastic jars, and all that. 2 is mostly the flexible plastic, the transparent plastics, which we use for packaging, any other kind of flexible. And 3 is multi-layered packaging, where different layers of packaging is there. And 4th is on compostable ones. So this is the minimum level of recycling. Next slide, please. So next slide, please. I think there's some. Yes, targets for reuse and for category 1. So the reuse target is used for category 1. And it is applicable from 2025-26. So right now, it is the time which is given is for industry to gear up for this kind of a system, where reuse is implemented and captured by the regulator. But the overall mechanics is not yet clear, that how it would be done, how a regulator, what would be the documents that regulator would see, look at reuse, how, because if something needs to be reused the way that it is defined, it is practically impossible. So we are working with government on this, and we are hopeful some solution. Next slide, please. So there are different targets which are being given. Again, it is the same. It is basically how the portal would, set the target for a producer or an importer or a brand owner. So for producer and importer, they need to declare how much packaging they are bringing in into their system. And then after processing, how much they are giving it to next supply chain partner, or a could be brand owner, or could be another producer. So उनका जो formula है, so A plus B minus C, तो minus हो जाता है. So जितना उन्होंने आगे transfer कर दिया, that quantity would get reduced from producer and importer, and the buck stopped at the brand owner. If you just look at the next slide, please. Yeah, this is the formula. This is how the system portal decides their targets. Here you can see for producer and importer, it is more or less the same average weight of plastic packaging material sold in the last 2 financial years, plus average quantity of pre-consumer plastic waste, minus annual quantity of brand owners. So annual quantity would be reduced. I mean, the amount they would transfer to brand owners. So this is how the system is estimating the target. And for the brand owners, if they reuse some quantity of packaging, so that quantity would be deducted from their EPR target. So if they are able to demonstrate that we are able to reuse, then that much of quantity gets deducted from their EPR target. So this is another incentive inbuilt into the system. Next slide, please. So these are like year-wise targets for recycling, recycled plastic content, reuse for category 1, 2, 3, 4 in a nutshell. Next slide, please. Again, it's another illustration. I would not like to go more detail into it. Next slide, please. Just like to come this one. So over the last 5 years, there are key policy changes which we have seen government shifting the gears for enhancing the recycling or enhancing the circular economy in the country. So now the focus from administrative regulatory compliances to facilitating growth of recycling infrastructure in the country. Earlier, all the people would be required to demonstrate how from where they have collected, which was their channel partner, how much waste was given to Kavadi to the recycler through Bilty system or any other system. And then it was a humongous document. I mean, so much of thick compliance reports used to be sent to regulators, and it was practically impossible for regulator to look at those detailed documents and make out an information that he can just use for compliance monitoring. So and this was sent from different. You can imagine that thousands of companies in the country sending these kind of reports to one person, single person sitting in CPCB. You can imagine that how much of paper he would have got. And so what government then thought about that, see, the ultimate objective of bringing out regulation and EPR is to facilitate circular economy, facilitate recycling of plastics. But if we get entangled in these things, it will not function. So they now brought out a system where they are saying that, okay, you declare your potential, declare your plastic packaging purchase, you would give you the target, and you give us the recycling certificate generated from a PWPF or a recycler in your name. We just want the end point that, okay, your waste has gone there and it is recycled, and that much of certification is generated through the portal. What it does is that it does away complete documentation requirement which was happening earlier between starting from producer to WMA to PO to PWPF and all that. So now this is the only thing. Although on ground, the model for brand owners would be the same. They would again deploy a WMA or PWPF to do the things. But the documentation is now very simple and very, very effective also. They have to now raise their EPR credit mechanism through this online. Now there are more emphasis on recycling, that waste to energy or co-processing. There are different types of certificates also which are which will get generated from the portal. One certificate would be for waste to energy, one would be for recycling, other would be for co-processing, and those certificates are given in a hierarchy manner that one certificate you can exchange, you can convert one certificate to another. For example, if you are doing recycling, you can generate it, you can convert it into co-processing, if that, but you cannot convert co-processing certificate to a recycling certificate because co-processing is the end of the story. I mean, वो waste उधर जल गया, वो recycle नहीं हुआ, तो वो certificate recycling में convert नहीं हो पाएगा. So which means that more and more organization would look for recycling certificates uh, uh, in order to meet their target. Then efficient compliance monitoring. As I mentioned earlier, it will assist with analytics, assist regulator. Regulator have much more time in assessment rather than reviewing the documentation. Lesser hassles for report filing and renewal applications by people. I mean, the way we have been hearing from the regulator is that now there will not be requirement of renewals every year. There would be same registration number. The only thing requirement would be every year you need to declare your product packaging amount that you have consumed and sold on the system, take your targets and get your certificates, and that's how the cycle would continue year on year. So this would be the system. What we are also hearing is that there would be lesser hassles on report filing, renewal applications by people. Uh, they don't need to send so much of hard copies, tons of papers to regulator. Rather, just ensure that they have a certificate in their name. They don't need to even file anything on the portal. The portal itself would give the credits and they can see that online. So their only effort would be to declare the data on the portal and ensure that they get the equivalent amount of certificates from PWPF on the rest. All work would be done by the portal, both for POs and both for the regulator. So that's how the overall system is being designed. And it would be a transparent credit mechanism to ensure proper collection and recycling of plastics. So overall mechanics is that, as I mentioned, that it would be transparent because the direct certificate would be raised in the name of particular producer. Any SPCV can log in and check any producer or brand owner that how much they have met their targets, in which states they have met their targets. Because now, as far as central government is concerned, it is a geography neutrality. The peoples can select any state as per their requirements or as per their convenience to ensure that they get that much amount of credit certificate. Because different geographies have different potentials for this. Next slide, please. Now I'll come to the final slide, which talks about key challenges associated right now, which are there. There were earlier so many challenges which we had brought to the notice of MOEF and CPCV, and we would like to wholeheartedly thank the regulator that they have been going through all those suggestions, and they have recently brought out many clarifications, many directions to ensure that the portal is up and live, and also industry is able to further do its part. But as I said, this ecosystem is developing currently. So there are some challenges which are still unaddressed. One is that plastic credit mechanism is yet to be fully functional. And for the last year also, uh, I mean, the work is done. People have made their payment to their waste management partners, but the credit is not showing on the portal. So, and because that the PWPF have not registered at the pace that they would have been, and there was some the SPCBs are also taking time to get them verified, because until unless a PWPF is verified, cross verified by concerned SPCB, it cannot generate the credit online in the online portal. So there, because of that, a lot of time has gone, and uh, we are not able to meet the timelines which are decided by PWM rules. So this is a challenge currently, that this plastic credit mechanism is a challenging task both for PWPA. Then renewal of PBOs is pending for a long time. As I mentioned in the earlier slides, there is a one set of registrations which are already happened through this online portal, and it was beautifully done. Everyone received their certificates through email. It was very fantastic system. But what was happened is that because the system was being designed for so many months, so there were some applications which were pending. And when the system given the registration certificate, for example, it has given the certificate today, but it was applicable from the 2 years back date, and in the next one it was about to expire to fill the gap. So what has happened is that there was one cycle of registration which was done, but for some industries it was expired again after 1 month of issuance. So and after that, the CPCB is working on that portal again, and the renewal system is yet to again open up. So what is there? So although it is understood that those are there on the portal, regulators know that, but it is not a good, situation for all of us to be in, that industries not been able to file their renewal application and being at the receiving end. And the third, which is a very Herculean task for any industry, is that upload of procurement data invoice wise. So what CPCB has mandated is that कि आप पूरे साल में जब भी आप, फॉर एग्जांपल एक कंपनी है, उसके 10 प्लांट भी हो सकते हैं इंडिया में, और वो 10 के 10 प्लांट अलग अलग प्रोक्योरमेंट करते हैं, अलग अलग टाइम पे करते हैं अपने बिजनेस साइकिल के हिसाब से. So when they purchase plastic packaging, every invoice needs to be first validated through this portal, and invoice EPR invoice number needs to be generated, and they need to print again that invoice with that EPR number, scan it, upload it with the details. So this is the system that this is how they are expecting industry to upload the procurement data so far. And so we requested that, can you, because ultimately you need the complete data, that how much of tonnage. Even your system would add on all these invoices and give you a formal tonnage, that okay, this much of tonnage of plastic we have procured. Why don't you have 4 quarterly submissions from PBOs, that okay, in this quarter I have uploaded, I have purchased this much of tonnage, and this would reduce the hassle of every invoice upload. Also, there is a reconciliation happens between a packaging provider, plastic packaging provider, and a brand owner, because there are rejections also. Every invoice uploading on the portal, maybe tomorrow that invoice needs to be cancelled because that consignment was rejected on account of quality issue. But there was no option on the portal to delete or amend any kind of submission. So that also we raised to CPCB, that there must be some, window that needs to be given to industry to relook at the data that has been filed, and there needs to be given some time. Okay, I need to amend this, or I reject this, and this is my final data. So this is a very Herculean task, and now we are informed that CPCB is working on some IT system where any industry can just upload an Excel file, and the system would automatically pick up the data from that Excel and fill it online. So this is what we are hearing, and now CPCB is working on this work. And if that gets implemented, it would be a very big relief for industry on account of this administrative challenge. Then fourth is the data privacy. Data privacy is basically, if you look at different, there is a dashboard which is being given on the CPCB EPR portal. As sir was mentioning in the initial part, there is a dedicated website for it. So if anybody go there and look at the data and bring out the PBO's details, or anybody can see even the mobile number of different contact person in these organizations. So this is something which we need to look at it, because once this data is stolen or even copy pasted, just anybody can just copy paste it and in Excel, and it would just uh, uh, can be used by any spammer or any kind of uh, cybercrime people. I mean, they look at these kind of data. So very personal data is being displayed on the portal. So that needs to be hidden. I mean, regulator can see that. Once a regulator enters, he can see that all the details, but this should not be like open for the public. So that is another data privacy issue. Then again, managing the data points from different sources within an organization on a real-time basis, because what CPCB expects is that you isko real time mein and they want one person to be liable for it. I mean, one person can only be liable for the activity he is overseeing, not what others are doing on the same portal. So there are some challenges over there. So we highlighted this recently, highlighted this to the regulator. So as you can see that the e-governance is a very good thing, but there are some very finer challenges associated with kind of a system. We need to be mindful of how, because it is making our life easy, but also there are some potential pitfalls that we need to avoid, so that we as a nation have a better compliance monitoring system. This is all from my side. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Kamal. Very, very nice and very excellent presentation, clarifying each and every point. And I have just one comment, because the most of the industry, even big industry, they may not have that kind of a trained manpower for the compliance and all the. So any CPCB is conducting any training for the industries or the concerned like stakeholders, so or any kind of video or something kind of available in the. Well, I've seen the guidelines, but only by not giving the training to the all the very sometimes very difficult to because there is guidelines very sometimes very not clarity. I've gone through that at some point. So anything is there in CPCB or something like?
Sir, on that EPR portal, there is a tab of training.
Okay.
And if anyone can visit that, there are two sections over there. One is basic training, other is advanced training. If we go in a basic training, we would find different modules, and it would tell a lot of things how one needs to register. It has screenshots, it has videos available over there, and anyone can see that those things. For organizations which are registered at the portal, then we can log in into the advanced version, where a lot of advanced portal related things are explained. that what are the things that needs to do, what are the common mistakes in the application filing. That also CPCB has brought out, so that anybody who prepare their application is correct. So that effort has only been made by CPCB, and while visiting that website they can do that. Yes, you are very right, sir. मॉड्यूल देना एक अलग बात होती है, और किसी को बताना प्रॉपरली ट्रेन करना एक अलग बात होती है. सो वो एफर्ट सर अभी नहीं है उतना.
Maybe organization like you or some other organizations may be doing with their members for that. It was very important, unless in the organization few people not fully aware about the fact. It's very implementation through sometime maybe doing with the consultant. Even the consultant also, not many, they're familiar with all the, this new process that will be.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
So very good. Thank you so much. And definitely will sometime again, if required, we'll ask you to more clarification on the some other day or something like. So now we can have just 5 minutes. I'll request the Pradeep Khandelwal ji to at least.
मैं तो क्वेश्चन ही करूंगा, कुछ बोलूंगा नहीं. कमल जी, ये जो अनऑथराइज्ड इंडस्ट्रीज है या अनऑथराइज्ड लोग हैं, प्लास्टिक यूजर, प्लास्टिक वेस्ट जनरेटर, दिस थिंग, उनके लिए क्या प्रोविजंस है?
जो अनऑथराइज हैं तो उनके लिए
कोई प्रोविजन नहीं है.
उनका कोई वो कुछ प्रोविजन से बाहर है.
नहीं, एक्चुअली उनको कैसे हम वो करेंगे? 50% इज अनऑथराइज. अभी भी मैं देख रहा हूँ जो लिस्ट उन्होंने इंडस्ट्रीज की लगाई है वेबसाइट पे, उसमें 50% इंडस्ट्रीज मिसिंग है अभी.
या यू आर वेरी राइट. एंड इन इवन FMCG सेक्टर का मैं बता सकता हूँ, जो हमारे बड़े ब्रांड्स हैं, आप पेप्सी, कोला, ये सब ले लीजिए, इन सबको एक साथ रख दीजिए, सबको एक साथ, ठीक है, तो ये खाली 40% बनाते हैं FMCG का. 60% इंडिया में FMCG आप इमेजिन कर सकते हैं. वी हैव मोर पोटेंशियल आउट ऑफ दीज जो ये कंपनीज है, केवल 40% जनरेट कर रही हैं. 60% वेस्ट. ये मैं खाली फूड सेक्टर की बात कर रहा हूँ. और सेक्टर तो हमारा MSME सेक्टर बहुत बड़ा है, एंड थैंक गॉड वी हैव सच अ लार्ज MSME सेक्टर, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट वी वर एबल टू ब्रिंग आउट ऑफ दिस पेंडेमिक वेरी क्विकली. हालांकि उनको इम्पैक्ट भी सबसे ज्यादा आया था, बट यही सेक्टर रोल प्ले करता है लोगों को जॉब्स देने में. तो अगर तो इन लोगों के पास क्या है सर, इनके पास ना उतना पैसा होता है कि वो एक अलग से एक एनवायरनमेंट का पर्सन है. उनके पास उतना फंड्स नहीं होते. दे आर जस्ट वेरी they run a very different level, but they contribute so much to the economy. So you are right that until unless, because अभी जो PWM boost के अंडर भी जो ये कंपनीज अपना EPR करती हैं, they collect equivalent amount of plastics. अपना प्लास्टिक का ऐसा नहीं होता पेप्सिको ने किया तो उसने अपना ही है. सो वो जब वेस्ट में जाता है तो सारा एक साथ ही उठता है, आपको मालूम ही है. तो इक्विवेलेंट अमाउंट ऑफ होता है. तो यानी कि EPR अगर ये सब कंपनीज 40% कर भी लेंगी, तब भी 40% ऑफ द वेस्ट ओनली विल गेट पिक्ड अप. 60% would be there. So your question is very right. How do we bring those companies into the picture, or kind of a very easy, as sir was mentioning, is there any hand-holding? Is there any training program which is given? But I think जब ये e-governance अगर आ गया तो उसके बाद उन लोगों को लेके आना थोड़ा आसान हो जाएगा. with the help of some consultants they can do their bit. क्योंकि अभी भी वो कुछ ना कुछ, चाहे इस पे रजिस्टर ना करे, बट कुछ ना कुछ कंप्लायंस तो मीट करते ही है. GST काफी तेजी से बढ़ रहा है देश में.
और अनिल जी, केवल प्लास्टिक वेस्ट में ही प्रॉब्लम नहीं है.
जी,
ये प्रॉब्लम हर वेस्ट में है. इवन कंस्ट्रक्शन डिमोलिशन वेस्ट में ऑथराइज कंस्ट्रक्शन तो 5 to 10% ही आ रही है. अनऑथराइज कंस्ट्रक्शन बहुत ज्यादा हो रही है. उसकी वेस्ट का कहीं क्वांटिफिकेशन एंड मॉनिटरिंग सिस्टम ही नहीं है. तो ये बहुत जरूरी है. मतलब पूरा आनंद पर्वत, पूरा ज्वालापुरी, कई जगह ऐसी है जहाँ पे सर्टिफिकेट.
ये तो खंडेलवाल जी, हम और आप 20 साल से यही देखते रहे कि कितनी सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऑर्डर हो गए, कितनी हो गई. जो ये नॉन कंफर्मिंग एरिया की इंडस्ट्रीज हैं, या किसी भी सिटी में, दिल्ली की बात अलग नहीं है, तो हर जगह वही इशू है कि 70 to 80% और 90% इज गोइंग जो अनऑर्गेनाइज और जो सेक्टर्स है नॉन कर्फ्यूम एरिया में है, उसके लिए कोई रूल नहीं है, क्योंकि उसके लिए पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम इस तरह का है कि कभी कोई एक्शन होता है, somebody will come, खड़ा हो जाएगा और वो सारा जो है एक्शन जो है आपको स्टॉप करना पड़ जाएगा।
मैं कुछ कहना चाहती हूँ।
जी रुचिका मैडम
अब
जी।
तो उसी पे अटैक करना चाहिए, बाकी तो सब लोग ठीक है।
जी जी
हाँ जी रुचिका जी बोलिए।
जी नमस्ते। मैं ये कहना
नमस्ते।
चाहती हूँ कि ईपीआर बहुत अच्छे से भी इम्प्लीमेंट हो सकता है, लेकिन सबसे पहले अगर जो म्यूनिसिपल कलेक्शंस हैं हमारी वेस्ट की, अगर वो सेग्रीगेटेड हों, एक मॉडल चल रहा है बैंगलोर में, एंड इन अ पर्टिकुलर वार्ड 168, इट्स रन बाय हरिस्तुल्ला ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, उनका काफी निकला भी है, आई थिंक दे बीन रिकॉग्नाइज्ड एशिया ओवर आल्सो फॉर ऑप्टिमम रिकवरी। वो सेग्रीगेटेड सूखा कूड़ा ही उठाते हैं, and they have the right by BBMP to pick up all the dry waste generated from 10,000 homes in their ward, commercials को सेक्टर को अलग रख के। और ये रेजिडेंशियल ड्राई वेस्ट का कूड़ा आता है मिक्स्ड, उसको वो प्रतिदिन 2 मेट्रिक टन को वो सॉर्ट आउट करते हैं थ्रू जस्ट 11 वेस्ट वर्कर्स, द वुमेन हु आर सिटिंग देयर। और उसके अंदर से 40% विच इज द नॉन रिसाइक्लेबल एंड द लो वैल्यू प्लास्टिक्स, उसको भी वो सॉर्ट आउट करते हैं। Their whole motto is that zero waste to go from to the landfill site. They are not getting any compensation by the municipality or under the EPR scheme, any other hand-holding or any other incentive. But it's almost like I feel one should also factor in while putting submissions on better improvement of the recovery of the recyclable component rather than the non-recyclable component, जो आज की तारीख में ये ज़्यादा non-recyclable content जो declare करा जा रहा है, by suggesting if we can have an environment compensation or some sort of a stipend where nearest to the source of generation, wherever the sorting centers, the secondary sorting centers, अगर आप निकाल भी रहे हैं, ना कि सिर्फ रिसाइक्लेबल कंटेंट बट नॉन रिसाइक्लेबल को भी आप सॉर्ट आउट कर रहे हैं, so that it can go for co-processing. That is one suggestion and one something which is already happening, and it should be a good example. अब प्रॉब्लम क्या हो रही है, उन्हीं लोगों को वहां पे सिंगल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जो वेस्ट कॉन्सेशनर को जो दिया जाता है, वो अब कह रहे हैं कि सेग्रीगेटेड कलेक्शन नहीं होगी, एक ही एजेंसी सूखा, गीला और बाथरूम का हैजर्डस कूड़ा उठाएगा। तो जब हम अगर हमको प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करनी है, तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी शुडंट क्रिएट मोर लेयर्स ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम, वी शुड लुक एट द सॉल्यूशन ऑफ रिकवरी इज, एंड सिंस हमारे पास एक हुनर भी है, अभी आपने जैसे बोला, हमारी ज्योग्राफी, हमारी कल्चरल, हमारी सोशियो इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन, सब कुछ अगर हम मद्देनजर रखें, और जो अभी जिसको हम एक प्रॉब्लम मान रहे हैं कि इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर के अगेंस्ट हम कुछ कर नहीं सकते या उनको लिया नहीं गया इन द एम्बिट ऑफ द रूल्स, अगर हम उनको पहचाने कि उनके पास एक स्किल है ऑफ सेकेंडरी सॉर्टिंग और बहुत बढ़िया से एक एंटरप्राइज भी वो निकाल लेते हैं, जैसे रबड़ के चप्पल के अंदर भी उनके 9 से 12 कैटेगरी सॉर्टिंग हो जाती है। So that is something that I feel has not been addressed.
रुचिका जी, इसके लिए ऑलरेडी बहुत प्रपोजल चल रहे हैं इन सब के साथ, जैसे कि म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन ने माई 10 kg प्लास्टिक घर घर जाके कलेक्ट करना शुरू करा, बॉटल फॉर चेंज बिस्लरी के थ्रू चेंज करा।
नहीं, मैं इसका भी मैं बता देती हूँ।
जो आपकी सेग्रीगेटेड कलेक्ट हुई, तो आप लोग उन लोगों को बुलाइए ना, आप भी तो नहीं बुलाते उन लोगों को।
नहीं, मैं बता रही हूँ, मैं गुड़गांव से हूँ, और यहाँ पे हमारे
पूरे एनसीआर में वर्क कर रहा है, केवल दिल्ली में नहीं कर रहा है, पूरे एनसीआर में वर्क कर रहा है।
हाँ, मैं आपको बताती हूँ, हमारे गुड़गांव में राइट ऑफ वेस्ट दे रखा है। एक
कमल जी भी कुछ ना कुछ कर रहे हैं, जरूर वो भी बता सकते हैं इस बारे में बहुत कुछ।
इको ग्रीन को दे रखा है, जो एक वेस्ट टू एनर्जी कंपनी है। एक से मुझे सुन लीजिए, और
ये सब
कोई सोल्यूशन की और ब्रॉड रूल्स की जब हम बात करते हैं तो ग्राउंड रियलिटीज को हम फैक्टर इन करें। देयर इज अ मारामारी ओवर सेग्रीगेटेड वेस्ट, जो हाउसिंग सोसाइटी सेग्रीगेट करी है उनको कमाने के लिए भी कि आपको कोई पॉइंट्स मिल जाए, रिवॉर्ड्स अवार्ड्स मिल जाए, वो भी नहीं दिया जा रहा है। दैट इज वन पॉइंट। फिर आपने अभी थोड़ी देर पहले जैसे कहा कि अगर हम को प्रोसेसिंग के लिए देते हैं, वहां पे सीमेंट किल्स में बहुत सारी जो एक्सपर्ट्स भी कहते हैं क्वेंचिंग डिवाइसेस नहीं है। सीपीसीबी itself has identified that. So we can't just say कि that, according for me as a waste generator and as somebody who's practicing 9 level of waste segregation and doing it for last 9 years, not just now, last 9 years, and teaching to 2000 different families and succeeding in that, where our biggest problem that we are identifying is in the fact that the manufacturers who are using the plastics, they are not making the switch over to reusability and recyclability. So I think also the point is that once we know that where this particular waste is going, it's going back as the emission story. डाबर कंपनी को अवार्ड पॉइंट्स अभी दिए गए थे कि WT के अंदर जब उन्होंने अपना प्लास्टिक कंटेंट भेजा, जो कूड़ा जो उठा रहा है उसमें वो वेट वेस्ट और नॉन रिसाइक्लेबल और रिसाइक्लेबल भी डाल के वो रिडंडेंट कर रहा है पूरे वेस्ट लोड को एज अ नॉन रिसाइक्लेबल कंटेंट. So I mean, I feel we are discussing the elephant in the room, but we should also.
I think this is a kind of, we need maybe another session or 1 or 2 session on the overall waste management issue scenario. So I think today already Sunday and already more than 5-6 minutes over. So I'll request Ruchika ji, we can take up this issue and some other session. And आपके suggestion पे आपसे बात करके topic discuss कर लेंगे. We'll go further. So डिस्कस करेंगे. एंड आई थिंक आज हम और बहुत से लोगों को बिकॉज ऑफ टाइम, क्योंकि कमल जी ने इतना अच्छा प्रेजेंटेशन दिया डिटेल में, तो हम बहुत से लोगों से डिस्कस नहीं कर पाए आज जो है. सो अगर इसी के साथ आई थिंक कमल का और हमारे अदर्स जो एक्सपर्ट आज जो है, जो भी कुछ बोल पाए कुछ नहीं बोल पाए और टाइम की वजह से, सबका धन्यवाद करते हुए और हमारे जो व्यूअर्स हैं जुड़े हुए हैं सबका धन्यवाद करते हुए आज की मीटिंग को, बिकॉज ऑफ बीइंग संडे सब लोगों को लंच का टाइम, फैमिली का टाइम होता है. मैं अदरवाइज तो वी कैन कंटिन्यू फर्दर अगर कर सकते थे, लेकिन बिकॉज ऑफ संडे मैं ज़्यादा नहीं टाइम लेना चाहता हूँ. तो इस मीटिंग को सबका धन्यवाद करते हुए आज की मीटिंग को यहीं क्लोज करते हैं. विल टेक अप दिस इशू फर्दर बिकॉज दिस वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट सच इशू कि इसको हम जो है आई थिंक सीरीज में अगर कवर करें तब भी नहीं, बट डेफिनेटली देखिए डिस्कस करने से वो इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है और हम भी किसी को और बोलते हैं तो एक चेन बनती है. तो विल टेक अप. और हमारे खंडेलवाल जी तो बहुत एक्सपर्ट, पूरा इन्होंने लाइव जो है 30 साल का मैंने देखा है, इन्होंने जो है पूरा इसी से शुरू किया था और लास्ट तक जो है प्लानिंग तक और सारे कैसे उसको फाइनल सीनियर लेवल पे उन्होंने किया है. तो डेफिनेटली विल कंटिन्यू और